Hello everyone.
Good evening, Williams.
Good evening, I can hear you, Williams.
Yes, good. All right, thank you for joining. Welcome everyone. Sorry we are starting a bit late. All right. We are all welcome to today's Probono session. I can see we have a few of our professionals on board and also one of our clients. So welcome to today's session once again. We'll be starting right about now. Sorry, I couldn't join in earlier. I was on the road, so I just got home. All right, just generally to introduce myself and the meeting. All right, so good evening. My name is Dennis Williams, and my name is Dennis Williams, and I am the program coordinator at JIIPCC. And without further ado, I would like to give a brief overview of what JIIPCC is about. So JIIPCC is an academic, consulting, and legal firm. Can we hear me?
Yes, we can.
I hear
Okay. All right. So JIPCC is an academic and consulting and legal firm dedicated to delivering specialized services to students, clients, and partners worldwide. At JIPCC, we train, impact, and transform lives, actively preparing and positioning Africans for the future. So far, we have mentored over 850. Well, the numbers are way above that right now. I would say roughly almost 2,000 students, young professionals, and startups across more than 10 African countries. The Jiipcc Pro Bono session is a free legal consultation. That's what we are having now, that provides free legal guidance to individuals and businesses. Please note that this session and any advice gotten from the Jiipcc professionals, that is JIPCC professional team, does not constitute to any form of specific or varied legal consultancy or legal advice in any form whatsoever. Jiipcc would not be liable in any form or manner for actions taken afterwards. Therefore, individuals are advised to seek further legal counsel or consult contact us for a proper legal advisory referral or legal advice from your preferred lawyer. So moving forward onto our next agenda, we'll be taking on our clients and we'll just be introducing them and having them tell us their case. In today's session, we are expecting, I think, quite a number of clients. That is, I can see on my list, we are expecting 7 clients, but I noticed that we have most of them yet to join us. So as they join in for the session, we'll be taking their cases. But we'll start off with the ones we have here. But I will just be calling out their names so that we are familiar with them before they join in. Our first on the list for our clients is Adetunji Precious Ayo Mikun, right? So Precious is passionate about learning, teamwork, and impact. She's seeking general professional guidance and personal development insights. So that is from Precious. Our second client for today is Ayedun Pelumi Daniel, who happens to be the president of the Intellectual Property Club, that is the of OAU, founder of Vigio Space, a talent management and IP advisory startup. She is seeking funding, equity advice, and legal structuring for his startup. That's from Mr. Daniel. Our third client for today is Grace Durosaro. Sorry if I didn't get the pronunciation of your name. Please, you can help me with that once we call you up. I noticed you're already on the call. You're very, very much welcome, Grace. Grace happens to be the founder of Legsover, right, an AI-powered legal edtech platform, and she's seeking startup legal and compliance guidance as a first-time founder. Our fourth client for today is Chiamaka Wabara. Chiamaka is an undergraduate law student interested in business and financial mentorship. She's seeking insights into from professionals to support her entrepreneurial journey. Our fifth client for today is Akin Losotu Precious Ayomide. I think she's in her third year of studying law at OAU. She's eager to learn from professionals and gain practical legal exposure. Our sixth client for today is Olumiyiwa Sharon Oluwatomi. She's a 300 level law student, poet, writer, spoken word artist, seeking guidance on protecting creative works and intellectual property. And last but not least, our last clients for today that we're expecting on the call is Mustafa Sofiat Ayoka. Sorry if I didn't get that pronunciation properly. Sofiat is a 200 level law student and graphic designer interested in deepening her understanding of law and professional practice. So what we'll be doing first and foremost is that saying that we do not have all our clients yet on board. Okay, we have a few of them on the session right now. I think 3 of them. And most of our professionals have not yet joined us. We still have a few of them, but I'm sure they will be able to help us walk through our session. What we'll be doing in the session is that we are going to be calling on our clients. They will be telling us the reason why they are here, and then we'll give 20 minutes to our professionals to help just give their kind advice to the professionals. And, we can just have like a very, very good discussion session. And then after that, we'll move on to the next clients until we are done with that. We'll take pictures and then just close. So I don't expect us to be very, very long in this session, but I do expect it to be very, very interactive. And I am very sure and I'm hopeful that our clients who have joined us will get the very best in terms of their experience with this pro bono session. So we'll be calling on our first clients in the person of Miss or Mrs. Grace. Sorry, you can just help clarify with that. We'd like to firstly welcome you to the session for today. Welcome to the Jiipcc Pro Bono session. Here what we want to achieve is just give you the opportunity to get as much counsel as you can from our professionals within a limited time frame. We may not be able to give you all of the counsel that you may require, but what we are expecting to do is to just give you or just establish a ground from which you can pick up and get further professional advice, or at least just for the basics, right? So Ms. Grace, we would like to just call you up. You can unmute, tell us why you are here, and then, we will just give the room to our professionals to help drive the conversation. So welcome, Grace.
Sorry, can I be heard? All right, then. Thank you so much for this opportunity. My name is Miss Grace. Actually, I am still a student, and as he has rightly said, I am the founder of an legal AI startup. So this idea came to me out of my personal experience as a law student, and for the hope of creating a tool that makes learning way more easier, especially when it comes to like answering law questions, answering in the IRAC format, because I struggled with that in my 100 level. So it was hard for me to adapt. But building that tool that helps other people is something that really makes me happy, because when I hear about testimonials from people using this site, I get really happy seeing that, oh, this thing is actually helping other people, right? So my main, let's say, issue is the fact that I'm not really sure how to go about like the whole legal aspect of the startup. Yes, there is the technical aspect, making the app work, and I try to do my personal research as to like requirements for data protection, and I worked on the right to consent and right to delete personal data and all those basics. But I'm not really sure if there's any documentation, especially for something as strategic and new like AI chatbots, especially the fact that it's collecting information from students, and some of the students may also be below the age of 18. And I would also like need general advice and feedback regarding compliance as well. I have a terms of use that I drafted and a privacy policy. So I need to know, okay, what are the important things that I may have probably omitted, things that are very crucial, but I didn't pay attention to as well. So yeah, basically regarding data protection, compliance, and
Um, okay, Grace, can you hear us? Sorry, it seems you were cut.
yeah, thank you.
Oh, okay. Sorry, was I the only one to hear like what she said, like towards the end of her sharing, her particular issue?
So I heard what she said, and she also summarized with the fact that essentially she needs data protection advice, especially with the fact, considering the fact that she handles the data of, I believe, those who would or those who use her apps, especially students. If I don't know, am I summarizing that right, Chris?
Okay, okay, she just joined us back. Grace, did you hear Mr. Emeka?
Sorry, my network lagged.
Right.
Okay,
I was confirming that you said you essentially need legal advice as it relates to data protection, especially as it relates to the fact that the information of students and data of students using your app. Is it an app? I'm not sure I got that part, but you are concerned about the legal implications of the data collected from these people. Am I right? Is
Yes,
that right?
yes, the website. Yes.
Okay, website. Okay, awesome, awesome. Williams, I have to pass this question on because I'm not adept at data protection. It's not my area of study. I was hoping that she need advice as to structure. But this is data protection. This is a specific question as to data protection, and I can't presume to give legal advice on it when I'm not well versed in it. So I would pass it on.
all right. Thank you, Mr. Emeka. Our second professional, Mr. Chinedum. Please, do you have any advice for Grace? While we wait, I'm sure we would have more professional join us shortly. But while we wait for them to do that, Mr. Chinedum, do you have any advice for our clients? Hello, Mr. Chinedum, are you with us? Oh, okay. It seems Mr. Chinedum, and we do not have as many professionals on the call as we would want. So, Grace, what we will do is, we will just still, we'll come back to you in a short bit when we have more people join in, right? So we can just maybe take that again. So sorry, please, we'll just ask you to be patient with us. We still have, I think, two more. Okay, we still have two more clients on call, right? So when we take their complaints, then we'll see how best we can work around it, and then we'll get back to you, Grace. So sorry about that. So we'll be moving to Chiamaka. Chiamaka, thank you for joining us. We are happy to have you here with us on call. Please, can you just kindly share with us why you are here with us? And, we just want to get to meet you, and you can just let us know why you are here, and then we'll try and see if we can provide some some form of solution to your particular challenge. So please, you can go ahead, Chiamaka. Chiamaka, can you hear us?
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. So basically, I don't have any particular problem. I just wanted to take advice from professionals on their journey, and then general advice on what to advise students that are interested in corporate law and IT law and tech law. And yes, that's just all. Thank you.
Sorry, please, can you come again? You are seeking advice on corporate law and what?
IT law, corporate and IT.
Okay, corporate
Corporate
and
and
IP,
Yes,
but in no regards to any particular topic.
no, just the general review and general overview of these two areas of law.
Okay. Thank you, Chiamaka. So before we give you the overview, I know you were a mentee with us on the fintech industry in the last program that we held in the last mentorship. And I would want to just further encourage you to still register for the program, right? Maybe for one of these particular, okay, we have a course on IP, right? So you can always register for that so that you can have maybe a more detailed insight into the IP space in general. But before that happens, because that will be next year, for what we will be handling in today's session, please would want to just kindly ask our professionals if they have maybe any advice for Ms. Chiamaka in the direction of what general IP space, what the IP space entails, and how she should target herself to become a professional on IP matters.
Hi. So a professional on IP matters, right? And I'm coming from the position of someone that didn't actually do IP in university because it was not a part of our curriculum when I was an undergrad. But the world is evolving and there is information out there. So the question is what you want to do with this information. If you are passionate about IP, because I also heard that you mentioned the fact that you also like fintech and finance. If I don't know if I got that right, or was my mind not here? You're interested in corporate law and finance and all of that. Can you confirm, Chiamaka?
Yes, sir, that's true.
Okay. Well, first things first. What are the immediate? You're an undergrad. What are the immediate causes that that form the basis of your interest? Your commercial transactions, your company law, right? And you can take courses, open courses, Coursera, Udemy. Some of these courses, some of these courses are free. Some you might have to pay for, but you start small. You can start with the roadmap because that's what I generally like to do when I want to learn a skill. You can start with the roadmap. For your intellectual property needs, if your faculty offers intellectual property law as a course, very good and fine. It's a good starting point. If it does not, there are organizations like the World Intellectual Property Organization, that offers a very unique introduction to intellectual property, and you also get a certificate to show that yes, indeed, you have learned one or two from there. And they offer a lot of other courses on intellectual property as a whole, on specific courses like topics like copyright, which usually comes in courses of their own copyright, trademark, patent, traditional knowledge, which is all the buzz these days. Utility marks or different parts of trademark, geographical indications and the likes. So your best bet is to start with these organizations like WIPO and to take foundational courses. So you might have to pay for it because that's really just the price of knowledge. You might have to pay for it. You might have to pay for the certificates, but highlight what your interests are and start small and start at the foundational level is what I would say. Start at the foundational level and build it up because it may happen that you're not really interested in it. You're just curious, and you don't get to commit all money and everything without actually finding out where your interest in these things lie. So start at the foundational level, fill it out a bit, whether you like it. If you do, you continue to the next step because the next step is usually very apparent when you have taken that basic step. You've learned about the basic things first. So start there. See where it leads. If your interests, if they pique your interest, you take the next step. Also follow mentors, follow people that do the same thing you want to do on LinkedIn, right? Because people that talk about their work in the area of, in the area you want to specialize in. If you want to be a finance, girl, or you want to be an IP lawyer, there are people that do these things. There are people that this is their bread and butter. So they are probably in the best position to also tell you what to do and how to go about it. So follow these people, reach out to them, and they'll probably advise you as to how to become what you need to be. I hope this makes sense.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Emeka. So I remember in the closing ceremony that we had for the Jiipcc Mentorship and Internship Program, in the last cohort, we did mention. Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Phillips, for your contribution on the chat box. Please, you can go ahead, Chiamaka, to read through what Mr. Phillips put up there. But like I was saying, we did mention that you can connect with some of our mentors on through LinkedIn, and then maybe if you do need their private contacts to maybe try to push for maybe some kind of mentorship under them, and maybe where you have questions and you may need some kind of advice, you can always reach out to us. And I remember for the fintech and IP course, we had a very, very renowned professional within that space, that is in the person of Mr. Max Ikombe. Mr. Max Ikombe is a very well-versed professional within the IP and fintech space. So if that is something you are interested in, maybe having a mentor that you can reach out to with questions in regards to particular needs around around those two spaces, right? You can always do well to reach out to me. I'm sure you should have my contact if I'm not mistaken. And if you don't, you can always reach out back to us through mail, and then we'll get back to you. All right. So Chiamaka, I hope in the little advice that we have given you, you are able to make a little bit sense of what it is, of what our Mr. Emeka has said, and maybe a little that contributes in trying to point you to a reference point for a mentor you can connect with for your development within the IP and fintech space, or rather corporate law space. So once again, thank you for being here, Chiamaka. All right, we still have one more professional, and then hopefully we'll get back to Miss Grace rather. So our last client for today is Adetunji Precious. Precious, thank you for joining in on the Pro Bono session with us. Please, we'll just like to meet you in the next few minutes. We want to hear why you are here from your own point of view, so that probably maybe there are particular things you want to share in-depthly with us. You can do that, and then we'll try and see in what context we can throw some light to or give some advice to you within the particular case of interest. So please go ahead, Precious.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. So, Adetunji Precious from the University of Ilorin. I'm still a law student. Okay, so the question or the areas where I need counseling and guidance. I have interest in fashion law. So, and I want to ask if there are any courses. I know fashion law is like it's just coming up, but then I don't know if there are any courses that I could take that would like strengthen my interest or make me know much more about this fashion law, because I've done a lot of research and the courses I saw are like they are not from Nigeria. They're not from Nigeria. So and they're also diploma. And I'm like, I don't know if there are other courses that I can take, because those ones require my full time. Like I should be there physically. And I'm like, no, I need something remote since I'm still a student, I'm still in school and things like that. And then the second question is, um, I've tried everything within my like capacity to like have a good CGPA, but my efforts and the results like it's not reflecting in my results. So I don't know if and I'm my 400 level. So I don't know if there's anything I can still do to like strengthen it more. Yes, that's all.
All right, thank you,
Thank you.
Precious. Thank you, Precious, for sharing your concerns with us. So Mr. Emeka and Mr. Olusegun, I saw Mr. Olusegun shared with us a link, right, okay, Mr. Emeka shared a link for where you can get access to a fashion academy where you can take courses. Please, we can do well to you can do well to you can do well to check that out. Okay. So Mr. Phillips is still sharing more, so you can do well to check that out. And okay, what did I want to? I think I had okay for your second question, Mr. Emeka and Mr. Phillips. Do you people have any advice for her as to how she can go around, her academics and what maybe a strategy she can implement to just better help her to just better help the overall outcome in her legal pursuits or in the pursuits of a legal career?
I don't know. I've left school. It has been a while I left school, and I didn't particularly like school. But Precious, there are no two ways about it. Throw yourself into academics for now. And I say this as someone who, did not like school, but in hindsight, would come to know the importance of good grades. I don't know what the grading system is like, but if it's if your last 2 years, because say you're in 400 level, so I don't know whether it's first semester or second, I'm not sure. And then you still have 500 level if you're like if your faculty is like the other faculties around Nigeria. Okay, first semester. Okay, awesome. So the only advice is to really just give it your all. If you have to cut things off, if you have to read all through, to just make sure your last 2 years are so good, because if you can't, even if your last the great thing you get in your last 2 years to not move the needle, they move it a bit. You can use that to show that whoever, you can use it to show that your good grades, the good grades you achieved during the last 2 years of your stay in university, and they usually count for something. Because even if they don't move the needle, or even if they move it a bit, they count. They will go a long way to show that you improved rapidly, and you improved very well, and you finished well. But there's no two ways about it. Just and if you're religious, or you're Christian or Muslim, just pray and then give it your all, because the job market is evolving, right? It's not just evolving in a way that is not to say that there's no space in the job market for people who have grades that are less than desirable, the standard first class and 2-1. That is not it, but just make it easier by either, becoming one of these people that have standard grades, or either do that or find a way to distinguish yourself, right? You may not, and this is not an excuse, because good grades are good. You will understand when you're on the other side of the divide, because good grades would help you get into grad school if it's desire that kind of thing, help you get into grad school easier, open more doors than they should, especially if you have a grade that is not good. So there are a host of benefits. But if you think that you cannot get good grades, start to find ways to distinguish yourselves from others. And what do I mean? Put yourself out there and do things that a normal undergraduate would not do. Take internships, take courses, try to, because you mentioned fashion law, which is great. Try to either, perhaps, you may change your mind later, but if this is a niche you are so passionate about, try to build capacity in that niche right from now. So that if, when the time comes, right, and, you, by God's grace, you find somewhere that, is actually practicing this kind of law you want to practice in the future, they will look beyond whatever grades you've gotten and see your experience. It happens. They look beyond your grade and see your experience in fashion law, right, or in IP or anything. They look beyond your grade and see that you are actually experienced and you have capacity in this area, and they can hire you. So start distinguishing yourself. Take internships, write, publish things, do things, go for internship, go for competitions, do things, get certifications, do other things that would show that perhaps it's the school system that is keeping you down, or they do not, they're not essentially recognizing your own style of brilliance. But other than the school system, you can shine anywhere and everywhere else. So do other things, put yourself out there, be active on LinkedIn, post regularly about your interest. I don't know where you can get internship opportunity for fashion law. I honestly think it's still a very, very novel area, especially as it relates to us here in Africa. I'm sure that fashion law is a big thing over there in the US. So you can actually start by learning the basics over there from them in fashion law. I'm sure there is a course, there are people talking about it in the US, there. And we can also say fashion law actually has a basis in intellectual property too, if you think about it, right? So you can like to start with IP and then branch out into fashion law. Start with the basics in IP and then branch out into fashion law. But it's not new. I'm not experienced in that area, but I seriously doubt that there is no body of, knowledge or material or literature that addresses fashion law as a concept or fashion law as an area of legal practice. I doubt that there isn't a literature on it. So still put in your research, check out these links that we are sent, read publications. The only way to get capacity in things or to build expertise in things is really not just by taking courses. People underestimate the habit of just reading. Read publications, read articles that people are putting out there, read blog posts, read people's LinkedIn, read about, things like the creative economy. I think Lagos just hosted a fashion week, right? Lagos just hosted a fashion week. Find someone that analyzed what went into hosting that fashion week and the should I use the word financial implication or the economic implications, and like what were the net positive of that event that happened? Yes, also GTC, GTB, yes, CEO. What were the net positive of that event? What was how did it affect the economy? How has it shined? How has it shined the light on fashion in Africa or Nigeria in Africa as a whole? Things like this. Follow the conversations. And once you follow the conversation, you learn a lot from people that are actually in this space, because they might not be lawyers. Those people might not be actual lawyers, but they are people very well experienced in fashion. And above every other thing, beyond everything, fashion is first a business, right? Before it is even, it's money, before it's anything else. So follow players in the industry. Follow people that plan these things, follow people that talk about these things, follow people that set it together, and then learn from them. I really do hope, that things turn around with your grade, like things change with your grade, because like I said, grades are important. But beyond your grades, also find other means to distinguish yourself. Because let me tell you, there are people that have had bad grades and work in top places. There are people that have had bad grades and gotten, juicier offers from abroad, from schools. Bad grades, while not desirable, it's not the end of the world. But like I said, you're in 400 level, you have your 400 level first semester exams, second semester exam, 500 level first semester exams, second semester exams, and then your project, which is usually like, I don't know the kind of the school you're in, but if you do well in your project, it can have such a great impact on your grades. So you have these opportunities, 4 semesters, to put your best in and come out with something different than what you currently have. So that is what I have to say. I hope it helps, Chemaka. And Precious, rather.
All right, thank you so much, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Emeka.
Thank you, sir. Sorry,
Thank you so
please,
much.
sir.
Okay, please go ahead, Precious.
Okay, is it possible for me to get a mentor in relation to fashion law or
Okay,
fashion? Yes.
okay, I have a response to you on that. I was writing down some suggestions of people you can connect with. We have two mentors on the Jiipcc mentorship and internship program. Please, both before I know you partook in our program, but I just want to ask which course did you take in fashion? Which course did you take while you took the Jiipcc mentorship and internship program?
So I didn't partake in any course. A friend of mine sent a form. She participated in the internship program. So she said that I should fill in the form that the organization is organizing a client counseling program. So I applied, just like applying. Yes.
Oh, all right. Oh, all right. So no problem. So if I would like to firstly refer you to, we have a mentorship and internship program. We'll be reaching out to you after this session. I thought your name is very similar to maybe someone that we had on the program, so I thought maybe it was that person. But we have a mentorship and internship program where we take several courses as relates to law, right, and even other aspects for non-lawyers. So so I would like to advise you based off of your area of interest. We have a course on entertainment business and law, and we have particular mentors who are experts within the field of fashion law, especially. We have Miss Asian Bernice, and then we have Liz Lenjo. Bernice is a well-rounded professional within the fashion space, and you can always do well to connect with her on LinkedIn. And I'm sure she would have access to resources and materials for you to connect with as regards the fashion law area that you are very, very much interested in. Well, firstly, I would like to advise you to partake in our program, right, so that you can have access to the entertainment business and law. So just beyond just fashion law, you can also have access to, within the entertainment business and law, you can also have access to topics like music business and law, music business and law, um, film business and law, fashion business and law, comedy skits and digital content, and then just within that space. So like I said, we'll reach out to you with the link so that you can have access to our courses. We'll send you the link for you to apply, and then we can also help you connect with some of our mentors for you to gain access to maybe further internship once you are done with ours. Yes, I can see Mr. Ridwan on the call. Mr. Ridwan, thank you so much for joining in. We are happy to have you on this particular call. In particular, I'm very, very, very much happy to see you after the program. Mr. Ridwan is one of our mentors on the Jiipcc Mentorship and Internship Program in our AI and data privacy and protection courses. So thank you so much, Mr. Ridwan, for joining in.
Yeah, it's my absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, all right. Thank you very much, sir. So, seeing that Mr. Ridwan is a professional within the data privacy and protection space, we would like to go back to you, Grace, with your question. And then I'm sure Mr. Ridwan would have well, particular answers to help you with, as regards the issues you raise. So back to you, Grace. Please, you can go ahead and, restate.
All right, thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Grace, and I am a student at University of Illinois. I founded an AI website for law students. It's a chatbot, but it answers questions in IRAC format, and it helps with like things like legal learning, legal studies, case law summaries, and all those sorts of things. So my main issue is when it comes to like documentation and like compliance, apart from like registering like with the CAC. I want to ask if there's any specific documentation needed for that aspect. And I also want to ask questions regarding data protection and compliance as well. Because apart from I did like my own little research, okay, the basics like right to request data deletion, right to consent, and all those things. But I want to ask if there is like any specific areas I should still like look into, since the website collects information like from students, and not all students are actually above 18. So that's my main major concern.
Hi, Grace. Good evening, everyone, and good evening, Grace, particularly. Uh, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Yeah, I actually finished from the the Better by Far University as well. Um, so some a few years back, and
I
yeah, you know Roima, right? Roima Ola. I can't really remember her surname now. You know,
is it
I
Olabi?
think yeah, yes, exactly. I think she just
Yeah,
finished this year, right? Okay, so I think the first thing
yeah,
that
right.
I will. Sorry, what did you say?
I said we're in the same set.
Oh, oh, interesting. Uh, just let me check. Are you sure? Because I know she's rounding up this year. Are you rounding up this year as well?
No, this is my fourth year.
Okay, I thought as much because I think I checked your LinkedIn. Um, anyways, if I remember when I remember her surname, I'll tell you. But I know she's finishing this year. She was in 500 level. I'm not sure how the program is presently, but then. So the reason I actually just mentioned her name, just not to take much of our time, because I myself have some other engagements that I need to run back to, and I know that there are other participants on the call. So I'll just, I mean, your question is quite wide, so I will try to give you some pointers that you can, probably start working on. And I would also kind of consider the level, the stage that the product is in, presently, so that I don't overwhelm you, because there's actually lots of things when it comes to you building a product. And as a startup lawyer, as a products compliance lawyer, so to say, I do my best to not overwhelm founders, so that they don't run away from legal compliance or regulatory compliance generally. I always, and it's really great that you're asking this question now, because it's, I think it resonates with what I advise founders on, in terms of always considering the legal implications, regarding their products from the get-go. And I think that's what you're doing. So the reason I asked about Rahima, actually, she's working with me presently. She was so if I mention her name, probably if I mention what she does or what she did, maybe you would remember very well. So she was the former, I think she's the pioneer and the former president of I think Data Protection and Privacy Club, right? So are you familiar with Data Protection and Privacy Club in Unilary?
Yes, I was a member last session, but I wasn't really like involved in the club so much.
Okay. I think that's the first thing out. Do you have a startup club as well in school, or is it just, I mean, maybe a startup club or a technology law, related club? Ordinarily, this sometimes might be integrated with the data protection and privacy club, but I'm not sure if you have anything like that. Do you have anything? Just let me ask that question. Do you have anything
Yeah,
relating to startup technology?
so we have a Google developer club, although I don't really
Okay.
think it's like startup, but like there is a Google
Mhm.
developer.
Okay. So the reason I asked about the startup and technology law is specifically about law. I know the GDG, the Good Developer Club, but we call it GDG sometimes. So I think that is, I doubt it's, of course, there will be law students as members of the club as well, but I think most of them would actually have their background in engineering and technology related, I mean core technology related courses. So, but of course, the reason I asked about the startup or technology law is specifically to talk about if you are working on things relating to technology law specifically, you get. So let me just go straight to the point. So I think the first advice I actually wanted to give you, I don't know if you're still a member or not, but then we can probably discuss about that, or you maybe can mention why you're not a member if you're not anymore. So one thing I would actually advise you to do is to join the club. I mean, if you're not actively, part of the club presently. So because I think there should be a lot of things that should be going on in the club. I don't know what's going on presently, aside data protection, because it's one of the major area that is very integral to AI, which is the core technology that supports what you're building would is data protection. So what I'm saying is that one of the major area that is very close to AI governance or AI compliance, which is what you need advice on, I guess, is data protection. So ordinarily, the data protection and privacy club should be handling things relating to data protection. So of course, it's not that they should be limited to that area. They should of course cover all the things like intellectual property as well and the likes. But that's just my first advice. But then the second one, which is going straight to the point in terms of what you really need to do. I think you ask what are the specific things that you need to do aside you incorporating your company or your business. um, so I think I'll start from. I think you're also familiar with some of these things because I think you mentioned you're familiar with some of the data protection requirements, like you having a privacy policy, and I want to understand. I want to believe that since you understand why you need a privacy policy or a privacy notice, as we may call it, you will also understand the importance of other policies like data protection policy and the likes. So, and the reason why you need all those policies is actually to document or to have a record of how you process of your workflow of your operations. It's not just you having those documents. So most privacy notices that you see online are just they will be like templates. There will be what I mean by templates is just that they're just there. I don't think they are functional. They don't indicate they don't indicate the actual implementation, the actually system implementation in the organization. I mean the way the system works. I don't think that's how most privacy policies or notices are drafted. So one of the things that you will the reason I'm saying this is all the documentation that you would have to do, from this privacy policy I mentioned or privacy notice. I'll call it privacy policies from now on because that's what most people are familiar with. That's the term that most people are familiar with. Um, so I'm saying that. I'm saying that in terms of you having this documentation. So the link I'm trying to create is in the sense that everything you're doing, what's one thing that is quite important when it comes to legal, compliance, and when it comes to AI governance, which is quite important for what you're doing, is documentation. You documenting what you're doing and how you're doing it. But of course, after you understanding what you're doing or how you want to create, this product or how you want to improve on it, one thing that you will now have to bring in tandem with you documenting all these things is you building your AI products responsibly. So what I mean by that is I'm talking about AI principles. I don't know if you would have if you're familiar with AI principles. The reason I made I add, of course, most people here might be familiar with AI principles, from from fairness to accountability, transparency, explainability, interpretability, and the likes. But in terms of when we're talking about principles, we're talking about the values that you should integrate, that you should build into the AI products you're building. All right. So what I'm saying essentially is that when you are documenting all these things, even before the documentation, there's something called risk assessment. But so that's why I said there's a lot of things, and I want it to be kind of comprehensive. So that's why I'll go back a bit to mention the things you could actually use to bring all these things together. I've mentioned documentation, I've mentioned AI principles, I've mentioned your actual implementation. What's your software or what's your product, does. So those three things can now be, can be comprehensively, covered under something called AI governance framework. So what I mean by AI governance framework, so that these things will be, you will have a structured way of going about all these things. Is there are different AI governance frameworks. I'll mention two of them. You might be familiar with ISO, International Organization for Standardization. So we have something called ISO 27001. It's called Information Security Management System. It's for the reason I'm trying to take this slowly is because I'm just being careful of giving you more information than you need and not further confusing you. So just look up ISO, okay? So ISO, the one I'm actually trying to talk about is ISO for 2001. The reason I mentioned 27001 before is because that's the most popular one, and I was thinking that you might actually be familiar with that. But just think of ISO for 2001. So that's one framework that you can use to structure how you're going to go about ensuring that your product is compliant. I'll still come back to the specific things that you need. These things are actually more important to some extent. They are more important in some ways, especially when you're just building your products at this stage, to consider this AI governance framework before you even, as far as you're not deploying your products yet, before you go ahead to do some other filings, aside the things you mentioned. So I'll still talk about those things. I think that I'll quickly round up with that. So what I'm saying in terms of AI governance frameworks is that we have ISO for 2001. Another framework that you should be familiar with is NIST RMF. They call it AIRMF. It's called NIST stands for National Institute for Standards and Technologies. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can anyone confirm that you can hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you, but your
Okay,
voice
great.
went.
Okay, yeah, I think I have a call coming in. Okay, just let me continue. So we NIST, I think I've mentioned the meaning of NIST. Then we have so the AI, artificial intelligence risk management framework. So just like the name implies, what's that is trying to do, including the ISO for 2001. The ISO for 2001 stands for AI management, management system, so to say. It's called AIMS, Artificial Intelligence Management Systems. So what you're actually trying to do, so together with the ISO 40001, together with the NIST RMF, AIRMF, that's AI Risk Management Framework, is actually for you to identify risks and evaluate those risks, and that is related or connected to the product you're building, and then address those risks, like treat those risks in terms of there are different ways that you can treat risks, like you can address them in terms of mitigating those risks by putting controls into place. An example from the cybersecurity space that you're going to be familiar with is in terms of you having some kind of authentication and authorization. When you want to log in, you can't just let anybody, get access to your systems. Anyhow, you would have some kind of, username and password. You could even have multi-factor authentication or two-factor authentication. So as when somebody tries to log in with their password, you tell them to confirm their information, maybe through email, or through your phone, or through something we call authenticator, right? So that is some sort of control for unauthorized access. So those are the kind of controls you put in when you know the risks. So one of the risks for maybe I should mention something specific to what you're building could be your AI could actually be biased towards some set of students. And so one of the risks you might want to put in place, I mean, there are different ways you can. There's something called SHARP, well, that's for fairness, for countering, fairness issues. I mean, in terms of bias, and to prevent your AI system from being from discriminating against, some set of students. So, just to give you a quick example, I don't want to go beyond that. So, so this is the process that those two AI frameworks will give you, AI governance frameworks. So the ISO 42001 and the NIST AI Risk Management Framework, RMF. So, so there are further things. So I mentioned that what you're going to do is to identify the risks, then evaluate the risks in terms of how. So identify, because there are different risks, and there are some that might be specific to what you're building, right? So those are the risks that you're going to focus on, and then you go to evaluating them in terms of how harmful they are to your customers or to the users of your systems of your AI products, and then you go on to treat them, by setting out controls and the likes. Of course, this is not going to be just you. I know you're not, and I don't want to make you to be afraid as well. I mean, you've started this. I don't know if you're working with other people, maybe tech people, tech minded, or I'm talking about software engineers or AI engineers already, or if you're just doing it through prompting and the likes. So, but these are things you could do yourself if you're building these products yourself already, or you can work together with other people that you're building this with. Dennis, do you want to say something? Okay.
No, I wasn't.
Okay. So, yeah. Okay. So, Grace, are you guessing me? Do you want to say something at this point, or should I continue?
Yeah, I wanted to mention that I am working with people, and I also wanted to mention that I have already like deployed this website, like people are already using it.
Great. Okay. Okay. Fantastic. So, notwithstanding all these things that I've said are still, relevant. They are very much relevant. If you've not gone through all these risk management process that I've mentioned in terms of ensuring that you understand the risks, you can. You can still go through it. You understand, just to ensure that you are mitigating the risk that your users might be exposed to. So, another thing is so we have the risk. So I'll just stop there. Since you said you've deployed already, uh, I will just kind of quickly round up on this risk management process, and you can browse these two frameworks that I've mentioned to get further information, and you can also make more research on AI governance, because it's the reason I'm mentioning AI governance is because it's cuts across all the necessary things you need to do relating to your AI products, from intellectual property to compliance to um, consumer compliance. I mean, I'm talking about consumer protection, and many other things like that. So it's going to, because these are traditional regulations, so to say, and what you're going to be doing by looking at those those regulatory requirements, from the perspective of AI governance, is because AI is different from traditional software. So AI governance would, in a very effective way, will kind of make these laws or these standards to be specific or to be applicable to what you're building. You understand? So that's why AI governance is quite important. So, but going to what you need now, I mean, maybe that's what you're looking for. Sorry, I had to go through AI governance, but it's just quite it's quite important. That's why I had to go through that first. So the things that you need, of course, from data privacy standpoints, is of course because you mentioned regulatory requirements like regulatory compliance. The first two things that you also need from the data privacy or data protection standpoint is in terms of doing registering with the Nigeria Data Protection Commission. Okay, and then the second thing you need to do is audit as well. We call it data protection compliance audit returns. So you need to work with a DPCO. I actually have a consulting firm which is registered, which is licensed with the NDPC. So they are actually the one that conducts a kind of audit. That's the reason I mentioned the ISO initially, because it's an audit standard, so to say. I mean, you're being audited, and then you get in the case of the NDPC, you get a trust mark to show that you've complied with that requirement. So what they do is actually look at your processes, your products all together and see if it complies with the law. Okay, well, the law I'm talking about here is the NDPA, the Nigeria Data Protection Act. And then, of course, we have the guide as well, which is the General Application and Implementation Directive, which is it's, I don't want to say it's subsidiary, but it's a regulation that, or it's a standard, so to say, a document that it explains the NDPA. Okay, so these are the two things that you need to do specifically regarding data protection in Nigeria. And of course, before you can do the NDPA, before you can do the data protection audits, rather, of course, there's certain things that you need to do in terms of you implementing the act itself. I mean, there's certain things that you're required under the law. So as a law student, I might not want to go through all these things, but of course, the first major thing is the data protection principle. I'm talking about the data protection principle, yes, from lawfulness, ensuring that your processing is lawful, to data minimization, to purpose limitation, all those, we have 7 of them altogether. To confidentiality and integrity. So you need to ensure that you are integrating or you're implementing those principles into your products. That you need to do all this before you go for the audit, because what the audit wants to do is to see if you have these elements under the provisions of the law in your listing. I mean, those relevant ones, everything might not be relevant to you probably, but that you have them. So, so I've mentioned data protection principle, and then the next thing would be the lawful basis. You need to have a lawful basis for processing personal data from, contractual obligation, because you have a contract between, you and your customers. That's why you're collecting their data, or maybe. And then, of course, another one is consent. We have 6 of them as well. So the second one is consent, so to say, or another one is consent. And you need to get the consent of your customer before you start sending them marketing emails. So all this have processes. So it's not something that you need to. So you need to now document all those processes. So you might have a consent mechanism policy. You could have a data minimization policy. Of course, you would have a data protection policy that will bring all these things together. But then when you see that you need more details, more information regarding some of these processes, that's when you now have standalone documents to address each of these issues under the law. So another thing is data subject rights. So you're using AI, you're processing people's personal data. Are you able to fulfill their data protection rights? So if somebody says he has the rights to access his information, personal data, will you be able to, will you be able to get all those data from the AI model? Of course, this is another thing. There's an understanding to an extent. Of course, it's still under debates. I mean, subject to debates that AI model does not process your personal data. But of course, your systems, you might have databases that process personal data that you need to, or if somebody says they want you to delete their data, you understand? So that's data subject. So there are many other things, that's data subject, right? So there are many other things that's under the law that you might need to consider and ensure that you have before you do the data protection audit. So, so those are the 2 major things under data protection. So, so when you're looking at data protection, as I've explained, aside from the registration with NDPC, of course, you see that when you're looking at data protection from the standpoint or from the perspective of AI governance, that will ensure that, because all the NDPA is mainly for traditional software, traditional technology, so to say. I mean, technology that is static, but AI is dynamic. You get. So the many things that the law will not or will will not be applicable directly to AI. But of course, it is applicable. It's just that you have to think further in the AI governance way to make sure that you are applying those specific requirements of law to your AI products. You understand? So I think I mentioned one already, like in terms of, let's just assume that AI model process personal data. So, and that it's almost impossible for you to delete. I mean, it's possible, but it's going to be very difficult for you to delete data from an AI model, like to remove some sort of data. So, like, how will you go? Of course, if it is a traditional listening, it's just a traditional software. It's just for you to go to your database. It's difficult as well. I mean, the technical process of you deleting data might be difficult. An example, just for you to understand what I'm saying, is something called shadow data. So you could have data in your systems and you don't know that the data is there. You understand? So it's not that because it's traditional, but it's just much more difficult when it comes to AI model because of how AI generally works. And then we've not even talked about data, the training of your algorithm or your model with the data. So there be lots of things that you need to consider. So I think the best way to go about this is to look at the data life cycle, the AI development life cycle. So from you contemplating on building the system, of course you've gone through all that, but of course you I believe you should be building with an agile methodology, which is you iterating on I mean, you can still go back on to design, to research, designing, and the likes. Maybe you're working on many other features. So I hope you understand what I'm saying. I'm talking from the software development life cycle of a thing. Now, if you understand how your developers are building your products, you would know that they will. It's not like because they've deployed the products, they can't go back to research some other things that will affect the product generally. So what I'm saying essentially is that the best way for you to implement all these things in terms of the data protection and AI governance is really to look at what is required at each stage of the AI life cycle. From the design to from research to design to development. And when we're talking about development, we're talking about data gathering, data preparation, to AI model, and then you training your AI model and then you testing it and and things like that. There's something called TAFE. Anyways, I think I'll just be rounding up now. So aside data protection, of course, intellectual property comes in. So that's where the risk assessment comes in. Where it is very important. So when you do your risk assessment, you see if you have anything relating to intellectual property, in what you're building. So if there are any issues, I mean, in terms of your AI model. So when I won't call it AI model again, I'll call it AI systems, because you're integrating it. There are many other things that comes together that is integrated into the AI model to make it an AI system, to make it a product. So it goes beyond an AI model, so to say. So when you look at your AI model or your AI system, is it creating new content and who owns that content? So that's from the intellectual standpoint. So you need to understand and ensure that, and this will come into your terms of use. I didn't mention that initially. I think I mentioned it's relating to data protection, which is your privacy policy. You need to be transparent. Transparency is a principle under data protection itself and a principle under AI as well. But so what I'm saying is that all these things, I mentioned it from the beginning, that all what you're doing needs to be in your privacy policy. You need to, show that this is how you process personal data. And so the same thing for intellectual property, the way the person that owns the ownership, the owner of the data or of the outputs, you need to also mention that. I mean, if you look at maybe ChatGPT or Anthropic, you look at their terms of use or terms of services, you would see, or terms and conditions, you would see, these provisions. So you need to also look at that. So there are many other things that you need to look at, to even up to consumer protection. So you need to like the FCCPA, that's the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act, to see if there are certain things that you need to put in place to protect your customers or your consumers. And to liability as well. So who is liable for things? So you need to understand that you need to look beyond traditional software to understand how liability works with AI. As I said, this is dynamic, it is not static. So it is very difficult for you to predict some things that might happen. So, or the kind of risk that you might be exposing yourself to. So, and that goes down to contracts. So when you're having contracts with, it might not be because if you're using ChatGPT AI model, of course, there's a contract between, even if you're not meeting any lawyer, there's a contract between your company and ChatGPT, that's OpenAI. But because it's a cloud-based, products, there won't be anybody. You won't have anything to sign. You understand? So what I'm saying essentially is that there might be instances where you need to, talk with a supplier. I mean, a service provider that you want to get something that you're integrating into your products. So what I'm saying essentially is that you need to look at the terms or the provisions of those contracts to see the liability, to see the obligations of each parties and the liabilities that you might be exposing yourself to. So aside liability, so I've mentioned from data protection, from AI governance itself to both data protection to intellectual property to liability to consumer protection to what other thing. So there are many other things that might actually come up. But when you're looking at risk management, that would allow you to list everything that is required sometimes. So with the reason I say sometimes is because the risk assessment mainly is for risks generally. It's not really from the legal points of view. But as your lawyer or you as a law student, you should do lots of research to see. I think the best way is actually to look at other or to some extent, because you won't be able to see all the things going down, under the shadow, so to say. I mean, within the company for them to be their products. But some of them, like the terms of their terms of use. I mean, I'm talking about similar products as yours. You can get when you get similar products as yours, you can see how they're doing their things. I mean, in terms of looking at privacy policy, their data, their terms of use, and seeing how they're doing things. And you can even reach out to them and then tell them, and probably they might even be interested in partnering with you and helping you build your products beyond what you have presently. So there are lots of things to look at, but I think those are the little things that I'll talk about. So again, regarding what you need specifically in terms of regulatory compliance. So of course I've mentioned I've made it clear when it comes to data protection that this is what you need. And for your product itself, you need I don't want to go deeper into analyzing your products and the different areas that it touches and the legal implications. I mean, the different areas of law that might apply to it. But those are the things that you need to look at. But I think I've mentioned some that you might start with. I hope this is clear. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to let me know.
All right, thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate this session because, like, you mentioned some things that I did not even consider before, and I'm so sorry for the background noise. Honestly, yes, you mentioned some things I did not consider at first, and I'm really grateful. I feel like I will have questions because I don't have questions currently, but I feel like I will have questions. If it's possible for me to reach out to you like via email, I would appreciate that, sir.
Yeah, that's fine. I can see your profile on LinkedIn already, so we can connect on LinkedIn as well. So I remember the name, it just came to my mind. Raimo Olawi. So I think she should be a senior by 1 year. So Raimo
Okay.
Olawi, that's her name.
All right, and I would actually join. I'll be more active in the club this session.
Yeah, yeah. I look forward to discussing your activities. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank
I
you
think
so much.
somebody had a question or something. Yeah, you're welcome. My pleasure.
Yes. Okay, do you have something that you would like to point out, sir?
Yeah. Sorry, can you come again?
No, okay, I was speaking to persons who indicated their hands.
Yes, I think that's precious.
Yeah, so it's not really a question. It's just like because Mr. Widwan said a lot. I hope the person that this thing. I hope you realize I actually gave you a full crash course in the little time you had. So I would highly recommend you go to if this I believe this session is being recorded. So just like you said, reach out to him. So the basic of it is what I just wanted you to note from what he said as the owner of the product you are doing, you should first realize that you are what they call a data controller and likely also a data processor. The data controller is the person collecting information. So the idea behind all this compliance that he explained is the fact that the people that are so ready giving you your data in order to be able to interact with your products need to be protected. So you have to report how exactly you handle their data to the required authority, in this case, the Nigerian Data Protection Commission. And like he said, the NDPA and the NDP guide. Those are two major regulations you should check. So I think so those are the main things in your mind. The people you are collecting the data from, then how. So he really, really explained your how, like how you would use their data. So it is all those information you are making sure to give the report to the required authority. Is the main point of compliance itself. So that's just what I wanted to add to just summarize something like that. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much,
Thank you very
sir.
much. Thank you so much, Mr. Oluwa. Thank you to professionals that spoke that we do. All right, thank you. So thank you, Mr. Ridwan, and thank you to our other professionals that spoke during this session. I think if there's anything I would like to add within this particular instance that we have raised as regards to grace issues, is that we still run programs, and this is just generally to also put some kind of publicity to our programs, not necessarily just for the sake of publicity, but also for the fact that you can actually learn quite a lot from our platforms that we have already set up in regards to some of these areas that your concerns are particularly targeted at. So we have a course on AI and emerging technologies. So things that Mr. Ridwan pointed out in terms of AI governance, some risk assessments, including ethics and cybersecurity, we do cover that in our AI course. And also we have a data privacy and protection course where data subject rights, things around data subject rights, and then the principles of AI, the principles of data privacy and protection. We also discuss that in our course, and then you have access to mentors that you can have. Sorry. We have questions and just generally get in contact with them and they can help you with that. So please, for all the participants the clients that have taken part in this program, we will still want to advise that you take an extra step, that you take an extra step to register for our mentorship and internship program. We'll be sending you the link in the mail we'll be sending after the program, so that you can always register and then go through our courses and have access to further mentorship that really highlights some of the areas people have raised concerns in. So yeah, once again, a big thank you to our professionals that have been able to join in. Please, this session is recorded, so you can always revisit it, right? That's for the clients. We record this session on our YouTube page, that is Jiipcc. You can search for us on YouTube. You can also connect with us on LinkedIn and see some of what we have been doing. All right. So yeah, just before we go and call it a night for the session, we would be taking a quick picture as is within our practice. That's something we usually do. All right, so please, if you are in a position where you can turn on your video, please we kindly ask that you do so that we take a quick picture and then we call it a night. Thank you, Mr. Lu Shegun. Thank you, Grace. All right, do we have more people who are able to turn on their videos? Thank you, Chiamaka. Thank you. Sorry. I'm coming, just a moment. All right. All right, so we are done with that. Thank you, everyone. And then, yeah, with that, we have come to the end of this session. Like I said, we'll be sending you emails, right, so that, you can get further guidance. And like I said, you can register for our mentorship and internship program, where some of the areas we have, where you have asked questions, we have a mentorship program that addresses some of them. You can register for it and then get our certificates at the end of the program. And I'm sure you are going to get great value for the program itself. Yeah, so I think it's safe to say good night here. Thank you so much once again to our professionals, to Mr. Ridwan Badmos, to Mr. Emeka. Thank you so much. We are really, really thankful to you. To also Mr. Olusegun Phillips, a big thank you for always showing up to give your very, very needed non-funded advice, if I will put it in that sense, right? Non-funded advice, right? Like
You're not
Mr. Yuan
funded.
said.
I'll
You said?
I'll send my invoice at the end of the session.
Yes, sir. We do also look at it, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So, yeah, so please do also reach out to Mr. Ridwan, that is for Grace. And then, yeah, like Mr. Ridwan said, he has a consultancy firm. So if you need further consultancy, you can, like I said, reach out to him. Good night, everyone. Please do have a wonderful night rest and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye.